Hello, good evening, and welcome to another little bit of a live stream. Going to start doing these a little more regularly, I hope, perchance, maybe, or maybe not. We'll see how things go. Today, I'm just going to be doing a little bit of painting. As you can see, I've already gotten started on some of these. Let's get a better angle. That might do it. So what I've got in front of me is some of my models for the Empire of Japan for Konflikt47. I have the assault frame infantry that came with the starter army, and I have some Ashigaru with oversized Teppo muskets. These are becoming a bit popular in Konflikt47. I'm not the only one to have come up with this idea. As soon as I come up with some cool idea, everyone else comes up with the same idea, because even though it's a cool idea, it is somewhat obvious. I need to close that. There we go. Hopefully we don't get just loads of background sounds going on in the stream today. I haven't streamed in a long time, so I need to sort all of that stuff out. Perhaps I should also mute my phone. That would be a sensible thing to do. Right. Well, as we're being sensible, what was I saying? Yes, Ashigaru. Given that the Empire of Japan for Konflikt47 has a great samurai aesthetic for a lot of their stuff, particularly the assault frame, having some Ashigaru for the what are they called? Shiboru, the Shiboru rifle squad, is kind of an interesting thing, kind of cool, and I'm not the first person to come up with it. I'm going to pretend I was the first person to come up with it, but I was not. And shall we start off by adding just more paints to my desk in front of me? Yeah, skin tone. So how far have I got with these? So essentially I've just done the main blue, and I've base coated the armor and the weapons, and then I've done a nice bright red flag as well in the background. Let me just set up some focus. That looks about right. Let's see how that goes. So let's get a bit of paint going on. So I want to get the skin base coated, the swords. Oh no! Oh, disaster going on here. That's one thing about these models specifically. Because they are true scale models, they end up being very, very thin in comparison to what you might be used to with like ED-SKaR models. And so things like these, sword handle is just broken off. Well, it's not fully broken. There we go. But for a break like that, it's relatively easy to deal with, because I can just follow styrene cement and nudge it back into position, because it hadn't fully severed there. Alright. I need to be further over. About there. That makes sense. So what I have chosen to do with the As You Go, I did this on my test model here, was giving them fingerless gloves. So I'm going to paint blue over most of the hand and then just skin on the fingers. And their face as well will be exposed. Unlike the assault frames, who have red masks. Like so. These guys are coming along nicely. I think what we'll do, if I can base coat all of the skin on the As You Go, we'll switch over to the samurai. Because I just need to paint some red. Sorry, no, I need to paint some blue on their uniforms to finish those guys up. I like this one particularly. He's holding, I think it's a water, like water skin, but not necessarily certain on that. This is not going to take long, given that I'm just essentially base coating the face and the fingers. Let's switch to my other painting handle because that might be better for this. I don't know when they came up with the idea for the fingerless gloves, but it kind of works. Yeah, this guy's got a cool goatee. What should we... What have I got on the wet palette? It's brown, really. No, I don't want that. Grab a spot of black. Actually do need to paint some black on these because the scabbards of their swords will be black as well. But let's focus on the skin. I wonder if any of the others will have beards or similar. I actually can't remember. I think I essentially used every head that has this type of hat. Just all of them off of the 2 sprues that I had. Because I will cover this when I do the video on this subject, but I had 1 sprue of Ashigaru Yari, 1 sprue of Ashigaru Teppo, and 1 sprue of Samurai, and I mixed the parts up, but I tried to just use this hat as much as possible to keep them kind of consistent. Ah, here we go. Same head with the same goatee as the other one. I suspect, although I didn't actually pay attention to this when I was building them, because I built them at different times, the Ashigaru Yari and the Ashigaru Teppo. I suspect that a lot of the parts are actually identical between the 2 sprues. And I've just found a head that is suspiciously similar to the one I just had. So if I put this one aside for the moment, over here perhaps, then I should remember, memory, memory, that's a thing. That's a thing that's not going to happen. In fact, as in the time it's taken me to laugh about it, I've actually forgotten what I was going to say. No idea. Oh yeah, the goatee. I'm going to put it aside, and I might remember to paint that goatee at some point. So I think I want to do the silver before the wash, which is what I did with these guys. I kind of like this grimy look that I'm getting out of kind of the new way of doing metallics. Starting with a brown, painting a bright silver over that, but not completely coating it, so the brown is still visible in spots, in the recesses kind of thing, and then brown wash over the top, or a mixed dark wash over the top. It ends up having a very shiny highlight because I'm using that bright silver, but also very grimy look, because that brown and the wash combine to make a very grimy underlayer. Is it an underlayer? It's not really an underlayer. Ah, this guy doesn't have the helmet. So I shall have to also put this guy aside to get appropriate paintwork. Appreciate this guy's hairline. It's nice to be represented like that in miniature form. Don't laugh. I need to steady the brush. There we go. This really is not taking long. How am I supposed to get to his thumbs? They're all tucked away back here. Made it. Made it, and I didn't even make a mess. Yeah, you see this guy, his armor is slightly more elaborate than the others. The back's very similar actually, but the front has a bit more or a bit different detail to the ED-SKaR. So that torso is definitely from the samurai sprue. Yeah, so this here shows the difference between the ED-SKaR Yari, who are the spearmen, and the way they're holding the gun as if it's the way you would hold a spear, because they're using the spear arms. Whereas this is one of the ED-SKaR Teppo, so it is actually holding the gun in the way you'd hold the gun. The Tanigashima musket is actually quite interesting in that the stock is not a shoulder stock, it is only a cheek stock. But that is partially because this era of musket was extremely low powered. I say extremely low powered, not massively low powered, but still dangerous. It'll still hurt you, but it'll still kill you. But it's not powerful enough to require bracing the weapon against your stock, against your shoulder when firing. And this one here, you'll notice, does not have the sashimono, the back flag, like the others do. That is because this one specifically, in the kneeling pose, is my sniper, Shiboru sniper. So from what I understand, all of the allied nations are getting a sniper with an option to upgrade to an anti-tank rifle. British get the boys, Soviets get the PTRs, Degtyarev and the Semenov. I think it's the Degtyarev. Seems like all the games do not acknowledge the Semenov design. Alas. Oh god. This guy's hand ended up buried. Oh well. That whole, like, most of his hand's just going to be completely covered when I use the ground cover mix, which I don't actually have any with me to show you. Ah, this guy's proper samurai. Although I've still given him the oversized Shiboro musket. As you've got open mouth, can I? Got a little bit of red on my wet palette still, so I'm going to see it. Yeah. That did not go to plan. Yeah, that was a disaster. I'll let that dry and fix it up later. Yeah, so this guy, because he has the kind of Tanegashima, but also a sword, and also is wearing the different armor and a different headdress. This is going to be my squad leader, Samurai NCO. Alright. I think I need to switch over to black now. I need to do the scabbards, I need to do that guy's hair and that guy's beard. Is that all? I think that might be everything actually, I don't need much. Well, that looks awful. Oh, that'll be why. What's happened to that? There we go. That's better. pretty sure I just turned the volume on my phone off, and yet that is quite distinctly the sound of my phone making noise. Silence thyself. See if that makes any sound. All right. Okay, I need to be careful on this one because this is the one that had the broken handle that we fixed a moment ago. Did I water it down too much? Nope, nope, that's good. I suspect that these swords and scabbards will not last particularly long once I start gaming with these regularly. But they look cool, and that's all that matters. Interestingly, the Sashimono on these is pretty rigid, pretty securely attached, whereas the Sashimono on the Konflikt models, they are not. That is just the tiny little, it's not even a peg, it's just a bump at the end of the flag, goes into a very small hole in the model's back. I was not particularly impressed with that. I suspect there may be some repairs to those Sashimono in short order. You don't have a sword. Why do you not have a sword? I didn't even glue one on you. Well, I guess you left yours at home. Would help if I don't drop everything. No, it didn't paint your fingers. Got a nice little bit of skin tone left, so I can do your fingers. Did I paint one of his thumbs and then that was all? Perhaps. I mean, he is the goatee guy, so maybe I got sidetracked by that. Next one. Oh, sniper doesn't have one. Neither does the spotter. I'm not sure if I should paint the handles, the handle wrap on the swords. Like a lot of swords did just have plain color, like just a black or a brown even, or a white, rather than the bright colours like red, blue. Although that's the more kind of iconic look to have that bright colour as a wrap. But it does mean painting some very, very tiny detail on like a dozen models, and I probably can't be bothered with that. How much headbanging can you get away with before you start ruining models? My brush is drying out. Got much of this black paint left, but there's only 3 models left to go, so it might just be enough. It might just be enough. I probably need to replace this palette paper because, good grief, it is a bit of a mess down there. Did you? You did not. So this model I was just using to test kind of where I wanted to paint the different colours. So he's already got a wash. And so his scabbard will probably end up looking different from the others, but not by much. And just as I'm doing that, I run out of paint, so I'm going to have to get more paint out for one scabbard. So now, I need to do this guy's jacket. I may regret this, but I think going for yellow might be like a bright yellow, because the armor's brown that's highlighted into kind of a yellowy tan sand colour. The other option is red, and there's a lot of red going on in this army, so perhaps I skip red this time. Yeah, I'll go for yellow. I'll go for yellow. If yellow doesn't look good, I will repaint it some other colour. And to do yellow, of course, as I always do, I will first paint it pink. This pink provides an excellent underlayer for yellow, allowing the yellow to become extremely vibrant, which then gives you plenty of space to work with in terms of highlights and shading. Whereas if all you have is a thin, dull yellow, kind of limits where you can go with it. Well, that looks awful, but it will do the job. No, hang on. While that dries, I'm going to throw yellow on it straight away. But while that dries, I will do the silver. A nice bright silver. Let me see, can I muck around with this? Nope. Nope, there's no more options I have. This being my new camera here, the main camera, as you can see in the other view, it's actually encroaching on my everything. It has a lot of auto functions, which I despise endlessly. Auto focus, auto brightness, auto white balance, auto everything. Let it do its own thing and it will just be flickering constantly, changing every setting. And it's very frustrating. Now, there is some software that you can get, download and run with the camera that means you can lock a lot of it. However, there's at least one setting that you can't lock, because I've set everything to locked and there is one auto feature still going. I don't know which one. And it's very annoying. That wasn't great. Realistically getting in there, am I? Get just that bit. That'll do. That'll have to do. Poor brush is not having a good time. See if that helps. Probably not. Right, so I'll come back to you for the yellow on the jacket. While I paint the silver on everyone else. Hello, Oliver. Blue Legion is taking some shape, yes. I have decided that my entire Japanese force for Konflikt 47 will be bright blue. Well, not so much bright blue. Based on a bright blue. I've got some of the assault frame here. They've got that same blue with then a wash over it, and then I need to highlight it up. I haven't highlighted the blue on that, so it's somewhere in between just the base coated blue and the wash. It's going to be a bit brighter than that when it's finished. But as these are wargaming models, I am doing a very fairly quick and simple paint job on them. Getting some base coats down, doing a wash, and then a little bit of highlighting. Doesn't need too much. But just in the base coating step, pretty much got these. Highlighting the uniform surfaces, yes. So the uniform and any clothing is going to be blue, and that includes the hats and helmets as well. And then the armor, in various forms, is brown, and brown highlighted into tan, with then red on the sashimono, and effectively that's it. Excuse me. Yeah, nice simple paint job. Wash is doing most of the work. Yeah, this is one of the more awkward poses that I had. I started with the Ashigaru Yari, the spearman, and given that they're meant to be holding spears, a lot of the hands are in I'm holding a spear kind of pose rather than I'm holding a musket kind of pose. So I ended up with some oddities like this one. Oh, I didn't paint his scabbard. I shall make this the I missed something pile. Oliver says washes are a miracle paint. Yeah, they kind of are. I can paint with enough time. I can paint everything that a wash can do, and if I paint that way, I can be much more varied about things. Whereas with a wash, you just kind of throw it on and it does what it wants to do. You can have some influence on a wash, but a lot of the time you're kind of letting it do its thing. And so for quick kind of wargaming models, washes are great. If I'm sitting down to paint something nicely, I often go without. It's all about what style you're after and how much effort you're willing to put in. Oh, is my nose going to play up for the rest of the stream? That would be terribly, terribly dull. I need to work out what to do with this. I think that's a water flask, or it might be a powder flask. I'm not 100%. I'm going to assume it's like a water skin and go with that. So I might paint it brown into white, which is what I do for a lot of leather and paper. There was something else as well. Oliver says, what made you want to play Japan? You see, here's the thing. I've been playing Bolt Action for more than 3 years, and I have all 6 of the main nations. Kind of every 6 months I would, on average every 6 months, I would paint up a new army and play the different style and very much enjoy it. So when I moved over to Conflict and people started asking, oh, what faction are you going to bring? I'm doing all of them. I'm doing all of them. You really cannot stop me. But I've definitely gravitated towards playing the Japanese first because the aesthetic is just so good. I've never really done kind of the samurai thing before. So when I look at stuff like the Americans, when they're kind of sci-fi soldiers, sci-fi military, I've done sci-fi military a lot. And when I look at the Axis with a lot of monsters and a lot of like heavy mech infantry, I've done monsters and I've done heavy mech infantry. Of course, they're a different style and they're very cool, and I will get round to them, and I will enjoy painting and playing with them. But I've never done samurai, and they're very cool. So quite happy to paint these first. Oh, this one, by the way, that doesn't have the Sashimono, the back flag. This is my Shiboru sniper. which I think is potentially an excellent unit, but in a practical sense, I can't use in the playtest because as soon as I put this guy on the battlefield, rolling one shot per turn, yeah, I just miss. Just miss every single time. Put a surging rift guy on this die. A rift die on this guy, and I used both of them to use his ability, and I didn't hit, not a single shot. Again, the first event. 3 games over a day. I know in one game I put the sniper in the wrong place, so he actually didn't fire a single shot because he never saw the enemy. But in the other 2 games, so if you just count those 2 games, I probably used 6, 7, 8 shots. I'm not sure exactly, and I hit 1, which actually did kill because of the. I'm not sure if you know the Shiboru rule. If you're shooting against infantry and you use a rift eye, you get double the hits. And so I actually did kill 2 Nachtalben. This song's a bit wonky. That's go for something a little different. Volume of dice is nice. Yes, absolutely. A big handful of dice is going to get you more hits. But then, back in the day, I used to play orcs. And there's just something satisfying about throwing 40 dice. Getting that barrel band without touching the wood is extremely difficult. And I have successfully failed on every single one so far. Yeah, I'm not too worried. Because when I come to do the highlighting, I will just drop a bit of brown on there and that'll hide it nicely. I've been feeling perfectly fine all day, and as soon as I get on stream, my nose starts running. What? Why? Just inconvenient. So much inconsistency with the Tanegashima that I have here. So I did not use the Tanegashima from the Ashigaru set. I 3D printed the Tanegashima, partly because I started with the Ashigaru Yari, the spearmen, and so they didn't have the muskets to begin with. But I also wanted to scale them up. So this is the normal scale for the Tanegashima. So you can see I've made them a little bit longer and quite a bit thicker. I think it was 200% width and height, and then 110, 120 length, or maybe 115. Still unsure what the best rift weapon rule is. They're all quite cool. Schwerlight hands down. The Axis Schwerlight weapon is absurdly powerful. You place the template before rolling to hit, and then you roll to hit each model under the template the number of times based on the number of shots that the weapon has. So even the light one, you drop a 3-inch blast, and you're potentially hitting every model twice with pen 3, and that's just using the single rift die. That's not overcharging it. If you overcharge it, it's even more powerful. Do I have my rulebook handy? I do have my rulebook handy. We might spot past and have a look at that in a moment. Yeah, here's another one of the Ashigari Yari, the spearman, holding a musket in a very awkward way. I really like the Shiboru rifle, but the Shiboru cannon is not great. So the way that Shiboru works, it's the crush weapon for the Japanese. Is it crush or grav? No, it's crush. You roll to hit as normal with all the shots that the weapon would usually have, and if you use a rift ability and you hit with all of the shots, you get an extra shot. You get an extra hit. So with a rifle that only has one shot, if you hit with that one shot, you get 2 hits. And so a squad of 10 can potentially get up to 20, although realistically you're not getting 20, but you are doubling the number of hits that you would usually get, and all of those hits have pen of whatever the weapon was. So in the case of the rifle, that's pen 1. So for an infantry weapon, a bunch of pen 1 shots and then using a rift ability to doubling that number of hits, it's pretty nice. The problem comes with the crush cannon. Oh, and sorry, crush rifle, the Shiboru rifle. Against a vehicle, instead of doubling the hits, you double the pen value. So you actually get the normal number of hits with pen 2. And I have found armored cars and light vehicles just disappear. Often you will get 2 or 3 penetrating hits. Maybe a glance, maybe a pen, but you will get more than one, often. And that's usually enough to put even an armored car just out of the game. Shreffled weapons are only carried on large vehicles, whereas the test for the weapons at infantry portal. There is the Schwerlight MP40, which just has +1 pen. It's a submachine gun with +1 pen, which again, that's great because that has 2 shots natively, and it still has assault as well. I believe there's a Schwerlight Luger. So a pistol with +1 pen. Don't the British get the radium pistol or the corrosive pistol? I don't think any unit can actually take it yet, but that's just silly. What was I saying? I was going somewhere with that. Schwerlight weapons are only carried in large vehicles. Yeah, done that one. I get what you mean. The 3-inch template is strong. It is. Yes. Someone dropped a. What's the one of the big German ones. It's the new one, the Panzer IV something or other with the legs. That one has the, I think it's the heavy Schwerlight, and yeah, just deleting squads every turn. And you don't even need to use the overcharge. You can just use the standard, not the standard shot, but like using a single rift die, so you're not overcharging it. There's no risk involved in that, other than you need to get the rift die back, which is fairly easy. It's fairly easy for everyone, but it's even easier for the Axis. But yeah, they can just go drop that template on a squad, annihilate it, and then do that every single turn. It's punishing. Not that it can't be dealt with, but it's very powerful. You also get the Meteor Launcher corrosive rocket thing. That is the... Is that the one that's on the Churchill? Like the... Kind of looks like Churchill Calliope almost. I have not seen that in play, so I don't know. It seems to me that the vast majority of Rift weapons are for getting a bunch of low pen hits. And the amount of hits you get, or the way that you get more hits, is very different depending on the nation. Like Shiboru weapons and Schwerlight weapons and Tesla weapons all work in different ways. But they get you a bunch of extra hits with Pen 1, Pen 2, Pen 3, not a great deal. Some of them, but not all of them, can give you a single high strength hit, such as Tesla and the Shiboru. What does the Schwerlight cannon combine its attacks like that to make a single high pen value hit? I don't remember it being able to do that. Maybe it does. I have not played with the Axis yet. I've played against the Axis. The brown on the front of this rifle is looking terribly, terribly blue there. I shall give you an extra coat, I think. Schwerfield projector combines each hit's die value as additional pen. Okay, so it can do the same. Yeah. So it seems that all of the Rift weapons from all the factions sort of do get to the same result in different means. Lots of low pen hits or a single high pen hit, usually against a vehicle. Hydration time. Interestingly, there's one distinct difference between the Tesla and the Shiboru. So the Tesla, you combine pen on a single model, whereas the Shiboru, you combine pen on a vehicle. And what that means is that if you're firing Shiboru against an officer who's by himself, you get 2 hits, you don't combine pen. Whereas if you're firing a Tesla at an officer by themselves, you combine it all to make that high pen value hit. So they work slightly differently in that very specific situation. If there's a single infantry model, Shiboru still treats them as infantry, whereas Tesla treats it as a combined hit. Yeah, I very much like the Shiboru rifles. I've used them a couple times now, and they've always been that reliable damage. Not super powered, not anything crazy, but you definitely keep throwing hits in, throwing Pen 1 hits all over the place, doing damage. I've even taken out a few Strahltruppen with them. Still need 6s on them. But against normal infantry, +1 pen, knocking them out on 5s and 6s. Or is it 5s and 4s even sometimes. Depends on what the infantry unit is. Oh, Oliver, you've posted a whole bunch. Let me read through it. Corrosive rocket thing is mounted on the Churchill 4. Okay. Did I say Comet? Yeah, okay, it's on the Churchill then. It's a cool model though. Is the Warlord one, is that the resin Churchill or is it the plastic Churchill that then has a resin upgrade part? I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't seen the Meteor Churchill being used. Schwerfield projector combines its hits value as an additional pen against a single target. Yeah. Against a single target. So is that the same as the Tesla, whereas an officer by himself would get a high pen hit? So it actually seems to be that Shiboru is the odd one out in that case. If Shiboru is doing, is not doing an extra, a high pen single hit against an officer by himself, or against, it doesn't have to be an officer. It's just that that's the example I'm using. A single infantry model. Shiboru treats them as infantry, whereas Tesla and Schwerfield treat them as a single high pen hit. Is the new Japanese Walker any good? Yes and no. Yes and no. I love the Sasori. I love the old Sasori. It was the only model. It was the only Walker model I really liked in first edition Conflict. And the new Sasori is just so much cooler. It is a beautiful model. I do not have it here. It is downstairs in front of my airbrush, waiting to be painted blue. It's just been primed so far. So there's a number of ways to run the small Sasori, the older one, the Type 6. A lot of people are running it as the Angry Potato, so without any tail weapon. Just 2 light machine guns in the front, or 2 medium machine guns, whichever it is. Because that is 95 points, and running that with without any cannon in the tail gives you a nice little Angry Potato that can run around and charge infantry. So only got 4 legs, it doesn't have the claws, but for 95 points, you're doing a lot of bullying. I, however, that's the wrong one. I, however, don't like the look of it. I think it looks kind of weird without the tail, and so I don't want to run it that way, even if it's good. But that brings you to the first of the old Sasori, so the Type 6 with the anti-tank gun. And I think that is very, very good. Because that's 150 points. So it's relatively cheap. It's armor 8, so it's a step up from an armored car. But it's still got that light anti-tank gun. You can still rush around and charge with it if you want to. It's kind of the middle choice for the Sasori, and I think that is, from a kind of points balance point of view, that is the best way to run it. Upgrading to the Shiboru is then another 80 points, and that is a lot to get Shiboru. Compare, without using a rift ability, compare a light anti-tank gun to a light Shiboru cannon. They're both kind of mid-range heavy weapons. They both have kind of lowish pen, but the anti-tank gun has pen 4 and the Shiboru has pen 2. Let me just double check on that. It's either 2 or 3. Page turning off camera is riveting. Stream. Yeah, so there's +3. So you're getting slightly less range, 1 less pen, but you're getting 2 shots instead of 1 shot, which, as we have discussed, more dice is usually better. But you're paying 80 points for that change. So without the rift ability, it kind of feels like you're paying a lot of points to get an equally good, just kind of more different weapon. It's not better, it's just different. And that I don't like. But if you throw in the rift ability of the crush weapon, which is obviously what you really should be using all the time, if you hit with both shots, you go from pen 3. You against infantry, you get 3 pen 3 hits, which is great. Especially against someone like Stahltruppen, you're going to absolutely like wreck squads with that. And against vehicles, that combines those 3 hits into a pen 9 hit, which is great. Pen 9 is going to destroy, or at least give you a decent chance of blowing up most things. The problem is getting 2 hits. Because natively, if you just sit there with no modifiers, you're not moving, you're not pinned, you've got no modifiers at all, you're on a 4+ to hit. That's the base for Conflict. The base roll to hit. And to get 2 hits out of 2 shots, well, you need to get both of them as 4+. So statistically, that's 1/4%. That's 1/4 of the time you will get both hits. And so if you use your rift ability every turn of the game, you're going to get that once, probably. Statistically, you'll probably only get it once. But as soon as you count having pins, moving, all of the other stuff that happens during a game, it becomes even less likely to get both of your hits in. You're much more likely to get 1 hit than you are with the anti-tank gun. But it's just... You've paid 80 points for this, and the real benefit is the Shiboru ability, and you're just not getting it that often. And so what I've seen a lot of people doing with the Shiboru, particularly on the Scorpion, because it can move so quickly, charge it up and get into point blank range. If you can get within 6 inches, getting +2 to hit on both of those 2 shots, then you might actually set off the rift ability. Hello. Termin York. But is it like the German stuff when you add them together? I'm not sure if we were talking about Tesla or Shiboru when you mentioned that. Shiboru, the Japanese weapons, if you hit against infantry with everything, you get an extra hit. Against a vehicle, you get an extra hit, but then you combine all of the pen values. So Shiboru rifle only has 1 shot, so a hit would become 2 hits versus infantry, or it would effectively double its pen versus a vehicle, so it goes from pen 1 to pen 2. A Shiboru cannon, the light Shiboru cannon, which is what we're just discussing, has pen 3 and 2 shots. So you would, if you hit with both against infantry, you get a third shot, so you get 3 pen 3 hits. Against a vehicle, you would combine those 3 into a single pen 9 hit. So it can be very powerful if you can hit with both of the attacks. The problem is, it's so unlikely to get them. Like, unless you're in point blank range, you're never going to be better than a 25% chance to actually get both of those hits in. Let's go for the blue. I'm going to just gently shove all of my Ashigaru over here, because they need to... I think they're ready for the wash now. We've done the metalwork, we've done the skin, we've got the flags ready and the armor. Yeah, I think we're ready to go for them. So let's move on to my assault frames, which have already had the wash. I've actually already had a bunch of highlighting on the armor. So if you see on the Ashigaru, but they're going to get painted in the same style. The armor I've painted brown here, and after the wash I've kind of edge highlighted it a bit. It's not really coming out on camera, but I have specular highlighted a brighter tan as well. Let's muck with the camera for a second and see if we can't get that to be a bit more visible. Wow, it doesn't like that at all. Nope. That doesn't look good at all. Set that back to where it belongs. That's interesting. So, in person compared to on screen, for me, it looks extremely similar. The blue and the shading and the armor and the shading there looks very similar. But on the highlighting of my armor, I've got spots of a much brighter sandy tan color, and you really can't see it on the screen, whereas I can see it in person. It's a very striking difference. That's interesting. I'm not sure why the camera's not picking that up as well. Oh, Tim in York says guts to change the outcome. Yes, that is absolutely legit. The Japanese are limited into how much guts they can actually buy, and there's a lot of things you want to use guts for. You get 1 per officer, and you get 1 officer per platoon. So if you're running a standard list, you might be running assault platoon, walker platoon, and maybe walker platoon has a vehicle officer though. Yeah, if you're running like an artillery platoon or an engineers platoon, you might get 2, you might get 3 officers and a point of guts each. So you're not really looking at a massive pool of guts. Also, doesn't to use guts to change a die, do you have to be within 6 inches, or is that anywhere on the table? I think that might be anywhere on the table. My music has ended. We shall start it again. How is my audio volume, by the way? Is the music at an appropriate level? I am running out of this stuff. Yeah, you can see how little I've got left. And I've got all of these Ashigaru to do. I've got the Sasori to do. Oof, I'm going to have to be very stingy with it. Audio is great, good voice. Excellent, thank you. I was pretty sure I did a test stream last week, and I'm pretty sure that my music wasn't coming through at all. It was just completely silent. So I think I must have had that track muted, because it wasn't just really quiet. It was absent. I need to find a replacement for this blue, because I mean, I love blue. Blue's always been my favourite colour to paint. Here you go, some very delicate. Got it. Nice. Guts may be the single most influential upgrade a unit can get in the whole game. A lot of people have come to that same conclusion. Guts lets you change a result of a die as we've suggested, but it also can throw a unit's order die back in the dice bag and make them go again, which is nuts. I've seen actually, talking about the Shiboru cannon and the Sasori being not great because of how difficult it is to get 2 hits off. Well, if you guts it, you can take a shot at long range, guts it to get an extra, to put its order die back in the bag, and advance again. So you advance 12 inches, guts back in the bag, and then advance it again another 12 inches. Get within that point blank range and send off those +2 to hit. So depending on what you get on that first shot, maybe you kill something, maybe you don't. But that second one, you're going to have a much higher chance of setting off the rift ability and doing real damage. I just dry brush most of my highlights because I'm lazy. Oliver, that's fine. For a wargaming model, any amount of paint is a bonus. Tabletop minimum is gluing the arms on. And even on here, I'm using a wash for this army. Everything from the infantry and the vehicles, everything is getting the same scheme. It's base coats, wash, and then a simple highlight. Really not a lot going on with this. I've just chosen a very striking set of colours that I think work quite well. The blue's coming out much nicer than the armour is. Yeah, so you can see how long it's taken me to do this, just a couple of minutes. And I'm basically done. I've done about half of it. Hello, Rider. I cannot guess what you're painting for Konflikt47. Is it the Japanese? Because it should be. Because they're the coolest. Yeah, this technique of painting is one that I've done a lot. I usually do this type of technique of painting with the very dull military kind of colours that you paint in bolt action. Muted greens, browns, that kind of thing. And so it's really nice to paint a very bright blue using what is effectively a very, very familiar technique. ZZR, Kawasaki man. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm on my, I think, did we talk about this previously? I'm on a Yamaha XJ600. Yeah, I think, were we talking about the exhaust? Because I had the replacement exhaust on mine, because the original exhaust for that is notorious for going corroded and rusted. Jerry's again, the Axis. Here's a good question for the Axis, because there's two very different ways you can play the Axis at the moment. You can either go kind of Stahltruppen and heavy armor, or you can go monsters. And I think when I eventually do get around to doing the Axis, I think I might go for a bunch of monsters and then Vogelspinners, tarantulas. How are you doing? That's pretty good. Yeah, there's a spot just here. That's a bit dark. No one say that I only ever do edge highlights. There we go. And I think that is as far as I'm going with these for tabletop models. That's just fine. Triumph 765. Nice. Team York is talking about Schreckwolfen. Oh, Schreckwolfen. There are two players at our local group. One guy I don't know so well, and one guy's a very good friend of mine. And both of them have the same pairing of 3 Schreckwolfen and 12 Totenkor. And it's something that I have not learned how to fight yet. Because I can focus down 3 Schreckwolfen. I can get rid of them. But in doing so, I'm massively overexposed and I haven't dealt with the Totenkor, and so the Totenkor swamp me. And as Japanese, you just don't have enough durable units to survive Totenkor, especially not 12 of them. The alternate way is to let the Schreckwolfen run about and focus down the Totenkor. And if you fight the Totenkor, you really have to focus them down, because if you don't wipe them out, they just come back. So you have to completely wipe them out. And I can do that. But that means letting the Schreckwolfen run about and do their business, which similarly does massive amounts of damage, and the Japanese are not particularly durable, and so don't survive it very well. And so the question is for me, like, what's the tactic? What is the kind of the deployment and the first turn's moves? What do you need to do to deal with both simultaneously? Other than get incredibly lucky, which is something that I have endlessly proven to not be capable of. I was playing a bolt action game. This must have been a year and a bit ago, and I had Katyusha. Actually, this was in 2nd edition, so it's maybe a bit more than a year ago. I was running a Katyusha just to see what it was like. I think it was the first time I'd run a Katyusha, and one of my opponents was a regular tournament player, so more skilled than I am. But I got my Katyusha into a good position and lobbed off a couple of salvos. And the first one was, I think there were 4 or 5 units that I rolled on. Didn't hit any of them. And my opponent said, "Oh, that's unlucky." And managed to spread out enough that the second time I only was able to hit 3. Or I was only able to aim at 3. And I went again, and I hit none of them. And my opponent was like, "Wow, that's really unlucky." But then he brought the units together for a charge on me in the last turn. And so I ended up with 4, and I distinctly remember this is 4 units. Transport unit and the vehicles and the units that had been on the transport vehicle. So I got 4 chances. I rolled them out, missed every single one of them. And this guy is like, "You just can't roll a 6, can you?" Nope. So yeah, same is definitely going with the Japanese in Konflikt 47. My Shiboru sniper, where are you? There you are. I've used him in 2 games, a tournament and in 2 single games, so that's 5 games in total. And he's probably hit twice in all of those games. Whenever you're rolling a single die to hit, it's why I don't like tanks. And this is why I like the Lee, the Grant and the Lee. I'm not sure how long you guys have been around, but a little while ago I did a video kind of making fun of the whole, "Oh, you can't play with unpainted models because someone could just use whatever models they wanted and pick the most powerful stuff and win." And so I picked the most powerful stuff, painted them in a weekend, and then won. And it was very powerful, and no one should have that much power, so I gave a lot of the models away. But that was the M3. I think it was Lee's because I was American. But the problem with tanks is that you're only rolling one die per turn to hit with its big gun. So you're more than likely just going to miss all the time. And so you take the Lee, which has 2 anti-tank guns, and so you're twice as likely to miss. Need to get in under that arm a little bit. Not too much. It should be darker down there. Yeah, it's probably about right. Right, let's get the helmet done. I need to get some more paint. Sacrificing more of my out of production paint that I will never get more of. Realistically, when I run out of this paint, I will just find a similar-ish paint and carry on. It's like with my Tanith. The cloaks of my Tanith are painted with several different green paints, because as I was building and painting them over the several years, I was painting other things in green as well. And I would run out of the paint, dark green, and I would buy a different dark green. I'd just buy whatever there was, whatever I thought was good at the time. And so over that army, the cloaks look, they all have a slightly different appearance because they've got a different dark green as the base and a different light green as the highlight, and there's various different combinations in there. That's looking good. And I may end up with the same kind of thing with the Japanese and this nice bright blue. I may end up with a squad or two that I paint later on that have a slightly different shade of blue. Might even go for shock horror, purple. Ooh, purple on the Sasori. I might have a plan. I might have an idea there. Yeah. Have you guys seen my usual painting style for vehicles? Essentially panel highlight, wash, and then edge highlight. So panel highlight under the wash, edge highlight over the wash. Because that, with a purple and this blue, ooh, that's going to look good. Because all of the purple is going to be under the wash. And so that's going to be really dark, really deep, really rich, especially with the purple I've got. That, can't really see it there, but that's a nice rich purple. And then you have a central highlight on every panel with the blue that's under the wash, which would end up looking like this, kind of very muted, slightly green tinge to it, because there's green in the brown wash that I use. But then this type of bright edge highlight, like, better if I show you this one. This kind of bright edge highlight, that blue, bright around the edges of every panel. Ooh, I might have to try that. Purple with gold. Well, all of the armor on all of my vehicles is the same as my infantry, so it's going to be this brown and tan. Which, again, the specular highlights look brighter in person than it does on camera. I think that's just this camera is not set up correctly, because I haven't worked out how. I actually have a jet bike that I was planning on painting purple and gold. Which reminds me that I need to go back and finish writing my jet bike racing game, because everybody who's played it has really enjoyed it. Like, the core gameplay is genuinely fun. But there's a jet bike from... I don't remember who. It's one of the kind of digital STL Kickstarter groups. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head now. But they got into a bit of trouble on one of their kind of Kickstarter months because basically Games Workshop got nosy and was like, these are a bit too much like ours. And it's like, no, that they're kind of not. You take fantasy elves and put them on jet bikes and space guns. It's not automatically 40k. It's like, space elves are not all 40k elves, thank you very much. But Games Workshop throwing around cease and desist as they do. So this Kickstarter group, or the sculptor, just sent out the STLs for free. And it's like, well, if Games Workshop doesn't want me to sell them, well, at least you guys make use of them. Off you go. I thought that was kind of funny. But their jet bike in there, beautiful model. And I've had that printed up for quite a while, and I have the intention of doing black and purple for the main body panels and then gold for all of the trim. Which, yeah, could be very, very nice. Feels like this one's taking longer to paint. Is that true? I guess it doesn't matter. Paint is running to the end of its life. I've managed to revive this paint several times. I refuse to let it die. However, I can't stop it from running out. So when it's gone, it's gone. There we go. How is that? Yep, that's looking pretty good. Bit of a dark spot there. There we go. All right, halfway done. Halfway done. We're pushing 2 hours on stream now. I can push over 2 hours, but I do need to like do things that aren't painting. Oh no, shock horror. So what I'll probably do is I'll wrap up the blue on these last three. which will take, however long it will take, 20 minutes, half an hour maybe. And then I'll wrap up the stream there. Is that one of the armor panels? I think that there in blue is actually the last armor panel of these. Whoops. Oh well. No one will notice if I don't point it out on live stream. That said, I know for a fact that there's certain features on the different models that I have highlighted differently or painted in different colours. Like particularly this band here, there, on the wrist. On some of them, I've done it blue, and on some of them, I've done it in the armour colour of brown. Consistency? Nah, don't need any of that. I'm really looking forward to someone painting these models. Like someone better at painting to do a really good job of painting these models. Because there's a lot here that you can do. Is that the end of my music again? It's gone awfully quiet. Must be telling me to end the stream. I shall finish these and then I shall end the stream. Right, it says another metalhead. Yeah. This is Ethan Maxell? Yeah. Ethan Maxell. On the audio library on YouTube, so it's free to use. I've noticed a few others using these tracks in particular. Although, once you start hearing the tracks in the audio library, you start hearing them everywhere, because I mean that's what it's for. Quick, simple, easy to find, guaranteed copyright free music that you can use on YouTube. That's literally what it's for. Miniac and what's the Trapped Under Plastic, the podcast that he's on. They use Ethan Maxell for the intro music of both of them. There's one other track that I use a lot, or that I use occasionally, that does get used a lot, that I've kind of stopped using for a while. I like this one in particular. It reminds me of Final Liberation. Best computer game soundtrack ever. Also, a fun game. Right, how's that? Yep. Yep. Oh, here's another detail that I've painted differently. On the right arm, they've got the armor panels, but on the left arm, they do have this separate cloth piece. And some of them I painted that blue. But on at least some of them, like this one, I've painted that in the armor color. Right, that's 4. Let's move on to number 5. These guys have oddly, really well sculpted boots. Like, the whole models are well sculpted, so it shouldn't be that surprising. But there's just something about having boots that are that recognizably, like, these are the panels of a pair of boots. Oh yeah, it's an odd thing to. It's not a complaint. It's just something I noticed while I was doing the base coats of these as well. Is that the boots are just really well done. I do like the old style of physical sculpts, but I very much enjoy a nice digital sculpt as well, like these. So unlike other models, I've not been able to find any 3D print artifacting on these. On some models from Warlord Games and from other companies, I've found like hidden away in various places the evidence of layer lines or of 3D print supports that have been kind of cleaned up, but it just leaves the evidence behind. And I'm pretty sure, given what we've heard from all about these models, these must have been 3D printed. Or the originals were 3D printed and then molds made of that, and then these are the casts from those molds. But I have not found a single, like, any kind of evidence of that, if it is the case. And like I say, it should be the case, but I can't prove it. And this is the officer from the box. And you may notice that he does not have the light machine gun. And that's because I wanted him to be good in close combat. I will maintain my original position, even though I have not played enough games to prove this point, that the Shibaru rifle is great, and if you're going to have battle frame, you pretty much want to give them Shibaru rifles. I don't see the case where you take battle frame without Shibaru, but the assault frame, I don't see the point in giving them any upgrades. Light machine gun or Shibaru. I just wouldn't. And the same goes for the officer as well as the infantry squad. You're not getting any ranged weapon upgrades if you're in the assault frame, because if you don't have the submachine gun, you lose an attack. This is something I want to get some more assault frames, because I want to run a full squad of 10 on a truck. Because with Deadly 2 and a submachine gun giving them an extra attack, that's 3 attacks each. And because they're assault frame, they have the energy sword, which gives them +1 pen in close combat. So you've got 30 attacks automatically hitting in close combat, obviously. All attacks hit automatically in close combat with +1 pen. Charging Stole Trooping. How many Stole Trooping can you kill with 30 dice? You need 6s still, but you're not on exploding 6s, you're on straight 6s. And against any lesser opponent, I think you can wipe pretty much anything. Oh, Oliver says, have battle frames on ambush in the backline to tackle jump infantry. Yeah. Yeah, if someone drops in Fireflies and you can ambush a squad of Shibaru rifles, what would you get? So let's assume no pins. Let's assume we're not at point blank because the Fireflies are charging something else. Use the rift die. So you get 10 shots, 4s to hit, so you're probably going to get 5 hits, doubles up to 4. So it doubles up to 10. And then you're at +1 pen against Fireflies. Fireflies are veteran 5s, so it becomes 4s to hit. So you're probably killing 5 of them. And you give them a pen, which means that when they shoot whatever they want to shoot at, they're at minus to hit because of that pin. Oh, without Shiboru. Oh, for submachine guns. No, I would not. It would be cheaper, granted. Be 6 points a model cheaper, because that's how much the Shiboru rifle costs. But the submachine gun is half the range. So Shiboru rifle has 24-inch range because it's a rifle, whereas the submachine gun has 12-inch range because it's a submachine gun. So you would need to put them in exactly the right place. Potentially you could get point blank if you were doing that, but at that point the Fireflies are just not going to go anywhere near you. And on top of that, I would say that the Shiboru rifle actually has more, or sorry, has equal firepower in terms of volume of fire as the submachine gun. Submachine gun gets 2 shots. Shiboru rifle gets 1 shot that doubles if you hit. So 2 shots each, potentially. Dice are different, statistics are a little different, but I think it's going to be very similar in both cases. Plus, another advantage of the Shiboru rifle in that situation is that when you deal with the Fireflies, your battle frame squad are all the way at the back, like behind your vehicles, protecting them. Well, once you've dealt with the Fireflies, what do? They're going to spend 2 or 3 turns running around trying to get close enough to do anything. Or, if they have Shiboru rifles, well, they're probably in range of something, and if they're not, they might just have to move once, fire on the move, kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, there will be... Sorry. There will be a use for battle frame without the Shiboru. But I just think that with Shiboru, it has so many uses that I think that is the main way to go. And similarly with the assault frame, you wouldn't take the weapon upgrades because you want the extra attacks in close combat, because that's what they're for. I have heard people talking about assault frames with Shiboru because then they're as good as battle frame at range, but you get a little bit of bonus in close combat. And granted, that is still 2 attacks at +1 pen in close combat if you don't have the submachine gun. Alright, we are all done. There is a bunch of my Ashigaru. Have been base coated with various paints. There we go. And my assault frames are essentially finished now. I can base them and varnish them and send them off to their game next week. My plan is to run a squad of 5, an officer squad of 3 and an officer squad of 2, only because that's the maximum models I have. If I had another model, I'd run 2 officer squads of 3. And then I think both of the officers are going to get the disposable anti-tank weapon. I've only got 1 model for it, but I'll give those to both the officer squads, because that is 5 points a model. For 3 models, that's 15 points, and they get to shoot a +8 or +6 anti-tank rocket every turn. Don't worry about using them all at once, because you wouldn't on 3 models. But just having that ability to throw out a higher pen value shot without losing your submachine gun attack in close combat. That's cool. Right, so I'm going to start packing away, and I will say if you have any questions or any suggestions or any comments, make them now, because I will be ending the stream momentarily, because it is late o'clock. Thank you very much to everyone for coming. Thank you to Ryder, York, and Oliver for all of your comments. Speaking of comments, Oliver says, think about Falco and Falk infantry with their rift ability into close combat. Those are the Italians, is that right? I do not know what their rift ability is off the top of my head. I've got my rulebook here, but they're in the... are they in the Axis or the Allied ones? I don't know. I'll have to look that up some other time. There were a few of the Italian units that I really liked the look of in terms of their rules, but particularly I love the models of the northern Italian armoured infantry, because they've got the Roman style. The southern ones are using the British Galahad suits, and the northern ones have the Roman kind of gladiator almost looking. They look great, and if they come up with a plastic kit of that, I'm having that. I'm having that, definitely. Right then, so I don't have a schedule for streaming yet, because I'm still just getting back into it, working out what I want to be doing. It's going to be roughly this time of day, kind of 7-8 o'clock onwards, UK time, during the week. I might do a weekend stream as well, it depends how things go, but I'm planning on doing one a week, and I don't know what day it's going to be. When I get into the swing of it and when I get into the habit of it, I will have a specific day, so we'll see when that comes. For now, I think that's all we need to natter on about. So these guys are going to charge off into battle. They will be, they will appear. In fact, all of what's here will appear in the battle reports in probably 3 or 4 weeks' time. Right. Well, thank you very much to everyone for coming past. I'm ED-SKaR, always